Hey everybody, how you doing? Hello, hey JD Sides, how you doing? You guys hear me okay? I got another new mic. It's been a it's been a long week for the Marcello household, especially my wife, my beautiful wife. Just amazing Wonder Woman. We had our first child this week. It's absolutely incredible feeling. Seeing him for the first time, and also just an incredible feeling just getting to hold him like every night. I think pretty much since we've been home, I've held him for about 3 straight hours as he sleeps, from about like 7 to 10 o'clock at night. And it's been amazing. It's just it's like the only time in my life like I'm not looking at my phone or anything, and I'm just sitting back watching TV or talking to my wife. It's just so relaxing. Of course, there are struggles, and if you guys, any parents out there, have any tips, we'd love to hear them. He does not sleep at all at night. I mean, we've heard about they sleep 2 or 3 hours here or there, but he doesn't sleep at all at night right now, and we're trying to figure out what the deal is there. He might be sleeping too much during the day. In fact, they're asleep right now, and I guess maybe it's a hard cycle to break because my wife's not getting any sleep at night. She wants to leave me alone because she knows I have to work the next day, including today. So I only woke up once, I think, last night after we went to bed, like around 11 or midnight, and that was at 4 a.m. And I stayed up with them for about an hour. But man, I just feel bad for my wife. Anyway, that's too much info. I shouldn't be sharing all of this. But anyway, guys, let's talk Auburn. If you guys have any suggestions for getting baby to sleep during the night, I'm all ears. But aside from that, that really the last big recruiting weekend before preseason camp and really until the season begins is this weekend. Auburn's annual cookout, as most of you know, is going on right now. If you go to auburnundercover.com, Keith Niebuhr has full coverage. He's just killing it right now. Auburn picked up a commitment for a 4-star linebacker for class of 2020. Amazingly, Auburn, only has but they have 4 commitments right now for the class of 2020, and Auburn ranks number 5 nationally. So they're off to a great start. This 2019 class is really a great start right now, and Auburn's inching toward a top 5 finish potentially for the 2019 recruiting class. The 2020 recruiting class could potentially be better. Auburn just simply isn't picking up 3-star commitments really anymore. They're just picking up 4 and 5-star guys. So that's huge. Outside of that, Keith Niebuhr's wrapping things up today and tomorrow with recruiting. He's talking to some players today about how their visits went to Auburn. About 40 recruits came to Auburn this weekend, 2019 and 2020 guys. So he's talking to them. Plenty of stories. We have a lot of VIP coverage for our subscribers at Auburn Undercover. So you guys really need to be subscribed and checking that out. And as a little hint, I'll give you a little hint. We have a humongous, really special subscriber sale that will be happening Wednesday. That even myself, if I wasn't a subscriber, I would pick up on it and subscribe immediately. It's really big, and it's going to be very limited time. Keep an eye on that. But I'm open for anything you guys want to talk about. I see Dexter here has a question. Will you continue your solo podcast? Or will all 24/7 podcasts be through Zach Blackerby? No, we worked out a deal with Zach, who'd been doing the Auburn podcast for a now defunct website that was covering the SEC. And he approached me asking if I'd be interested in hosting his stuff. So I was like, yeah, sure. People love podcasts, and we worked something out where, he would do his thing with his daily podcast, and then he'd have some Auburn Undercover folks come on and discuss things with him, experts. Myself and Keith have been on there. Zach, of course, has brought on some people from his station, Painter Sharpless. I think Rich Perkins has been on there. But Zach hosts it. It's a really good podcast, I think. It goes Monday through Friday. You check it out. So you have a new podcast every single day. Now, will the 24/7 podcast go away? No, I just don't think I'm going to be doing one that's as often as we were doing last season, where we were recording like 2 a week, for a couple of reasons. Number one, our site has not, the Scout's site has not combined with us at 24/7 yet. So I'm technically still like by myself as the only writer. Some of you know, my beat writing partner left the business back in March. So it's just me right now really covering the beat on our site. So I don't want to get on podcasts and just talk and just be me talking. It's kind of boring. Kind of like this, but at least you're asking me questions. It's a two-way conversation. So what we're going to do, and you guys are the first to hear this, is I'm going to try and bring back the Auburn Roundtable podcasts. We'll probably do those once a week or so, where it's going to be myself, Keith Niebuhr, our publisher, Ronnie Sanders, who has tremendous connections throughout the coaching industry, and, of course, our editor emeritus and the dean of Auburn sports writing, Philip Marshall, will be on there. So it'll just be like a roundtable discussion where we discuss the big topics of the week, whether it's at Auburn or nationally or in the SEC. I'm hoping, if I can get everybody on the same page, of course, schedules are always an issue, that maybe we will try to record our first one this week as we preview the upcoming preseason camp. Preseason camp starts Friday here at Auburn, as most of you know. So a lot of stuff to talk about going into it. And then after that, maybe we'll do something once a week, or during preseason camp, maybe once every couple of weeks. Just depends on how newsworthy stuff is coming out. So look out for that. If you're already subscribed to the Auburn Undercover podcast on iTunes, it will appear there. So just go search for Auburn Undercover on your iTunes app, or go to podbean.com. Just search for Auburn Undercover wherever you find podcasts. Zach Blackerby's podcast is just called the Auburn Podcast. We don't own it. It's just affiliated with us. We present it. And it's grown a little bit since it's joined up with us. And a lot of great work has gone into it from Zach. So check that out. It's up every day on our site. And, of course, wherever you find podcasts, just search for the Auburn Podcast. But also search for Auburn Undercover wherever you can find podcasts. And we'll start doing those roundtable discussions finally once again. We haven't done them in maybe a year or more. So we need to get back to those. Those are always very good. Chase says he loves the Roundtable podcast. I do too. We need to do more of them. It's part of the reason why I've got this mic. I hope the audio is maybe a little bit clearer and deeper for you guys right now. Nathan asked, do you think Andrew Booth is going to visit? Nathan, I have no idea. I don't cover recruiting. I know he's been the big topic on the Bot to Get a Message board for auburnundercover.com. Honestly, don't know. I would go to our website and go ask Keith Niebuhr. He's the man when it comes to that. Felter family asked, could you see a scenario where Sean Shivers takes Eli Stove's role, or is he in a running back all the way? I could see him being that speed sweep guy, but I think as it stands now, I would think Anthony Schwartz would have the better situation to potentially be that guy. But who knows until they get to preseason camp. What you're going to see this upcoming Friday, through the first week of preseason camp usually are a lot of players moving around, playing different positions, trying new things out. So the coaches get an idea of, oh, this guy might actually work a little bit better in this role, a few times a game. So we'll see. But on paper, going into preseason camp, I would think Anthony Schwartz would be that type of guy that takes over that quote-unquote Eli Stowe jet sweep role. Parker asks, what's the biggest remaining need in this recruiting cycle? Parker asks. Honestly don't know. I would just think offensive line. Then you can always use more offensive linemen. And they've had a good start with that with J.B. Grimes so far. Jeff asks, what are you hearing about summer basketball? Good things. Anthony McLemore, who of course had that horrific injury to his ankle down the stretch of the season, 7 games before the end of the season. He's been cleared and is practicing for Auburn right now in those like summer workout type situations they do. So that's good. Here it is July and he's already working out. So that gives him plenty of opportunity to, one, get back in basketball shape a little bit. And then also moving forward, work his way back into the rotation. I think he's a guy that needs to be a starter. I can't wait to see Anthony McLemore and Austin Wiley on the floor at the same time. That is going to be formidable. Anthony McLemore might be my favorite player to watch, at least last season. When he was doing his thing, it was crazy good. And Jared Harper kind of fit that mold too for me, just watching him handle the basketball. But Anthony McLemore in the paint, outside the paint as a defender was fantastic. Yes, camp does start this week, Friday. We do not have a schedule yet. Auburn has not released a schedule yet for preseason camp. It starts Friday, as it has the last, 6 years for Gus Malzahn. I'm sure it'll all be in the afternoon, usually 3 or 4 o'clock. Usually we get a few practices open to the media, and by practices open, I mean the first 15 minutes, which is pretty much just them stretching. So we'll see. But yeah, it starts Friday. Don't have the schedule yet, though, and we'll get it sometime this week. Prediction on punt returner and 2 kick returners. I'm drawing a blank right now. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the week. But if you guys throw out some names, I know I sound so silly right now that I can't remember. I don't think you're going to see any surprises there, I guess is what I'm saying. Ryan Davis, punt return, certainly a guy who will be the main punt returner. Biggest impact as a freshman. Who had the biggest impact as a freshman? My guess is it's going to be Anthony Schwartz. He comes on campus today, actually, just in time for preseason camp. We'll see, though. I mean, it'd been great if he was on campus all summer, but he wasn't. He was all around the world running track. So. Hayden asks, do you think the 1,000-yard rusher streak is in jeopardy this season? I do. A lot of folks keep saying, nah, it's going to be okay, but the evidence isn't there right now as far as what's on campus right now. At least when there was Kerryon Johnson and Cameron Petway, especially Kerryon Johnson, there was some, experience there, and they had the body type to deal with the SEC. Right now, Cam Martin is their guy, so to speak, and that very well could change before the season, by the way. It might end up being Jartavius Whitlow or someone else, maybe even Asa Martin. That would be crazy as a freshman, but it could happen. But as it stands now, I just don't know if they'll have a 1,000-yard rusher. I think that streak could end, which was an amazing streak of the SEC record. I think what you could see is maybe a more committee approach, maybe not necessarily a committee approach, but maybe them actually splitting carries a little bit more between 2 running backs instead of just one main guy and then a backup guy comes in for a breather every now and again on third down. So for that very reason, I think you could see like an 800-yard back, a 700-yard back, and like a 500-yard back or something like that. We'll see. Mr. John D. asks, what are your realistic expectations for Auburn this fall? between 8 and 11 wins. I think 8 wins is worst case. If they win anything less than 8, it's a disappointing year. They win 8, it's a ho-hum year. They win 9, pretty good. They win 10, great season in my opinion. I know everybody wants to win a national championship, especially when one of your rivals, and both your rivals for that matter, play for the national championship and then one of them wins it. It kind of taints how things happened last season. But Auburn still won 10 games last year. If Auburn can win 10 games against this schedule this season with the opener against Washington and then traveling to Georgia and Alabama, if they win 10 this season, that is an incredible feat. It'll be the first back-to-back 10-win seasons since 1988 and 1989 in the Pat Dye era. And it'll be the second time in school history there have been back-to-back double-digit win seasons. So don't discount that, guys. If they get 10 wins this year and still don't win the SEC West and all that, I see it as a step forward. I still think that this is a program that since they got Kevin Steele on campus and they kind of rebuilt that defense, they finally stockpiled the defensive talent, that this is really, not really, but this is kind of the third year of the complete Auburn team. You know what I mean? Where they're building a complete team. Those first couple seasons, and even 2.5, 3 seasons, especially under Shaun White that one year, when they still managed to make the Sugar Bowl, by the way, they were still trying to figure some things out. There were depth issues at places. Obviously, quarterback didn't work out with Jeremy Johnson, so that put them behind the 8 ball a little bit. 2015 was kind of the year they were pointing to as a year that they put everything together. Didn't quite happen because of the quarterback situation. Then that kind of put them behind the 8 ball for like another year or two as they try to figure out who the quarterback's going to be. Now that they have Jarrett Stidham and now that they have a really good defense, this is where you start seeing Auburn taking those steps forward. 10-win seasons, 9-win seasons, maybe an 11-win season. We could be sitting here 2-3 years from now and going, oh, Auburn won an SEC title and won a national title. And the people who are disappointed right now can look back and see, oh, there were necessary steps that still had to be taken. It's going to be tough. In fact, it's going to be tougher to do now than it was in 2013, 14, 15, in my opinion, as Auburn was rebuilding things. Because I think Florida is going to be on the rise under Dan Mullen. I think LSU could always be a danger just because of the talent, but I just don't know about the coaching. I think Tennessee is going to be getting better over the next 3 years. They're not going to be good this year, but they could be in 2 or 3 years. With all those new coaches, things change. I think Arkansas at some point, if they get the type of talent they want there, could be a team that's, jumps out at someone and upsets people. They could be a team that, because of their style of play, upsets an LSU or an Auburn or even an Alabama in certain seasons here in about 2 or 3 years. So it's going to be tough. And then Texas A&M. That is the program, the sleeping giant, in my opinion. They have all the money in the world, incredible facilities. They've got a great coach right now in Jimbo Fisher, great recruiting hotbed. If they start putting it together, they could turn things around there quickly. I could see them next season contending for an SEC West championship. So it's a little bit more difficult, but Auburn's stockpiled the talent on both offense and defense. And the one area of weakness we could talk about right now for Auburn is the offensive line, as we all know. And they got to figure that out this year. But as they figure that out and they continue to recruit as well as they have been everywhere else, maybe not this year, and maybe who knows, you just never know. But I think Auburn's building toward winning a national championship the next 2 or 3 years. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But man, consistency seems to be on the horizon for Auburn. Brad said, when did Auburn lose to Arkansas? That was an old title that popped up on Twitter and on this Periscope for some reason. I couldn't fix it. I'm sorry. I'm using a service. I'm using OBS Studio, if you guys are familiar with studio stuff, that's feeding it through Restream, and I need to probably change the title on Restream somehow. I don't know. I was just trying to do this on a Sunday just to talk before I go off and go record a podcast with Zach Blackerby. In fact, I don't even know if I can change it. But we'll see. So I'm sorry for the weird title. I don't think I could change it since it started. So sorry about that. That's an old title from like basketball season. Do I think TD Moultrie can catch Jeff Holland's production? Yeah, sure, absolutely. I think he could be a guy who hits double-digit sacks, sure. And if not, he's got Big Cat Bryant, and they could be putting them in different situations to rush the passer. I think Auburn's going to be perfectly fine at the edge there at the buck position. Will Cord Sandberg, the quarterback, end up at Auburn? I have no inside knowledge, but it certainly seems like it. Cord Sandberg, if a lot of you don't know, committed to Mississippi State way back in 2013. He went off and played baseball, I believe, and now he's back on the circuit, so to speak, trying to get into college, play football somewhere. It's between Auburn and LSU, it appears. He's visiting LSU next. I think he's making a decision Monday. If I had to guess, he's going to choose Auburn. I watched film on him. He didn't, but the film was from 5 years ago. He didn't really have a lot of zip on the ball. What happens if Stidham gets injured? You'll see Malik Willis play and maybe Joey Gatewood a little bit. But I think Malik Willis will be straight up to be the backup. Does a 10-2 Auburn with close losses at Georgia and at Bama have a playoff argument? No, probably not. Because both those teams, one of those teams, Georgia and Alabama, are most likely in the playoff argument themselves. And I just don't see them putting two SEC teams in the playoff scenario if they lose to a divisional rival and they also have two losses. It was different with Alabama because they had one last season. They had one loss, and of course Georgia won the SEC championship. I could see the 10-2 scenario working out if Auburn loses to Georgia and Bama and somehow still wins the SEC title. But that's the way things have been running the last 7-8 years in the SEC. It's impossible, it seems. We're freshmen that could play against Washington. I think everybody's on the board because of the new redshirt rule. If you guys don't know, the new redshirt rule allows any newcomer, or any player for that matter, to play up to 4 games and still redshirt this season. So we'll see. Chase wants to know, when could we hear something about a new football facility? I don't know. My guess would be after the season, based off of the way... based off of, sorry, I was getting a text message on my watch. Based off of what I was hearing a month or two ago, I don't think any type of announcement, if there was one, would happen until after the season. I think a lot depends on how successful Auburn is this year. Patrick asks, where were you when we found out Gus accepted to do the Driving Planes episode? I was sitting in my living room, and he called me just out of the blue, nowhere, and asked me about the show. Said, "Hey, man, I want to do your show." I was like, "Okay." I never requested or asked him to be on the show because I just figured he wouldn't do it. Because he's turned me down so many times for some other one-on-one stuff. And no, it was just straight up him. He just called and asked. He said he liked the show and he wanted to do it. And I'm grateful he chose to do so, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the finished product. It's up at our site at auburnundercover.com and also on our Auburn Undercover YouTube page. All 4 parts are up on YouTube right now if you want to go watch it. Murph asks, how is Gus and the new athletics director relationship? Good. Gus really likes the guy, and Alan Green really likes Gus. Felcher says, if KJ and Petway were 100% healthy and engaged for the entire season, how would 2017 turn out? About the same. Maybe they beat UCF, but I just don't know if they would have beaten Georgia in the SEC championship. And the reason why is because defense was losing a little bit of its edge at that point in the year, and Jarrett Stidham just kept fumbling the ball in the red zone, outside the red zone. And the running back, that's not the running back's issue. GSM asks, any surprise starters that you could pick today? Oh, goodness. There is one, but I'm not going to say it now. I'm leaving it for our subscribers on our website. Maybe I'll put that up later this week. Anywhere else on the field? I mean, you could see Christian Tutt possibly take over a starting spot at one of the cornerback positions. I don't think he will unseat Jamel Dean, but, maybe Noah Igbenogany he unseats at one of the corner spots. Receiver will be interesting just because Eli Stove and Will Hastings are down. It would be incredible if Anthony Schwartz went in there and won a job. That'd be nuts. Even though he just got on campus right now, you know what I mean? Today. He just got on campus today, I should say. We'll see. But I'll have more later this week and some VIP stuff. Who's the best running back in the SECS, Brunner? That's a good question. It's up for grabs this year. Really is. Really is. How does the new locker room press box look? I have no idea. I haven't been inside of it. Haven't been allowed inside. I went up there yesterday and took some pictures that are up on our site of the new Tiger Walk and the lobby of the new game day facility there, and it's very nice. And I'm told inside looks really nice. But I looked through a window from up on a hill into the second floor and where there was some stairs. Looks like there's still a lot of stuff going on inside they got to get done. I'm told the press box is pretty small, by the way, which you guys don't care about. But as long as I have a seat and can see the field, it's probably going to be the worst press box in the SEC, but whatever. Life goes on. Got to do my job. Doesn't really affect things. Joey Gatewood playing a Wildcat role, asked Brad. We'll see. But they might feel like they have a better Wildcat player on the field that they could trust with the football. We'll see. This first 2 weeks of preseason camp are huge for whether some freshmen see the field. But that redshirt rule leaves all doors open. Patrick Chambers says, what about an episode of Driving Planes with the athletics director? I'm working on it. But, we don't live in a world where I could simply just go up to someone and go, hey, you want to do the show? And they go, yeah, let's do it. I'm working on like 2 people right now. And one of which I have not heard from at all. And I started requesting them 3 months ago. And yet somehow I did go with Gus Malzahn episode. He was like the unreachable goal for me, but we got him. I hope you guys enjoyed that too. Who could be a first-round pick this season on defense? Take your pick, man. Derek Brown, defensive tackle. I love Dontavius Russell. I think Marlon Davidson could jump back and have a big year this season. He kind of slowed down a little bit as a pass rusher last year. A lot of those guys were battling injuries too. And then, listen, you can't deny the buck position right now. The last 2 guys that played the buck position have gone on to play in the NFL. Of course, Jeff Holland wasn't drafted, but he's with the Denver Broncos right now. So, and Carl Lawson, of course, got drafted. So, some really good guys there. What about Deshaun Davis at linebacker? Is the Aussie kicker on campus yet? I'm wanting to think it's August 1st now for him. I might be wrong. He might already be here. Point is, he's going to be here for practice. Felcher says, can you and Michael reconnect and have podcasts with just movie reviews? I love those segments. I haven't talked to Michael since the day he quit. Put in his notice, so I don't think I'm not going to speak for him. He's off doing other things. Nathan asks, where could we be ranked at the start of the season? Inside the top 10 or just outside of it. I think they're going to be just outside of the top 10. But the thing is with that, and people be like, oh no, we're number 12 or 13 or 14. Well, you beat Washington in the opener, then you're probably gonna be like number 8 or something. So it doesn't matter. You open the season number 9 or 10, then you lose against Washington, you'll be outside the top 10 anyway. So what's a week? You know, beating Washington will either maintain you in the top 10 or it's going to drop you out of the top 10 or let you stay outside the top 10. It's all about that Washington game, guys. Really is. I'm an AP voter this year. First time I'm voting in the AP polls since 2010 when I was covering Mississippi State. Real privileged to do it. I love doing it. I love working on it every late Saturday night or early Sunday morning. Preseason poll comes out August 20th. I got to file my ballot here in the next 2 weeks. And I'm still working on that myself. But, we'll see. I think Auburn's a top 10-ish team. Back-to-back questions there about where would Auburn be ranked. So let me ask you guys and gals, are you excited at all about preseason camp? There's not a quarterback competition that really, draws eyes and everything, but there are a lot of spots that are going to be very interesting to watch. And not even necessarily starters. You look just at the cornerback positions and safety positions, who are not only going to be the starters there, but who are going to be the backups, especially at safety. Those are huge questions. And then the running back position. Cam Martin's the leader going into preseason camp, but he's not the starter yet. He could be unseated as a starter in preseason camp. Mr. John D says, I just don't want to lose a Mercedes-Benz again. I think every Auburn fan will agree with you there. Losing 3 straight games in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta would be just dreadful. Runnit says he doesn't care about football, loves college basketball. Well, BR says, I just need football back in my life, man. I'm with you, man. I missed football so much. I miss every summer is just so, oh my goodness. And then when football comes back, it's like, yes. And then usually about late October, I'm going, oh no, I'm going to fall asleep. It's too much work, but I love it. And this summer went by fast for me just because we were expecting a child. Things really flew by. And this is the first time I haven't been to SEC Media Days, which was weird, which I'm kind of happy about because I did not want to have to fight Atlanta traffic to go to that. Much better to have that in Hoover. I just don't get them wanting to move it to Atlanta for a year. GSM says, and I agree, safety, offensive line, running back rotation are areas of interest. Absolutely. I agree with that. Felcher says AMC's health. I guess you're asking about Anthony McLemore. As I mentioned earlier, he's good to go and he's practicing and still trying to get in basketball shape. And he's gonna be good to go for the season. He has all the way till November, so he's well on track. Run to it says the stuff with the NFL is what turned him off from football. I'm not much of an NFL guy anyway. I'm guessing you're talking about the kneeling for the national anthem stuff. That's not what turned me off from the NFL. I was turned off from the NFL before that. They're just... why I love college football is because you have so many different varieties of offenses and defenses, specifically offenses, that anybody can beat anybody really at some point. NFL is the same way. Anybody can beat anybody. But you're not seeing like radically different offenses and clashing styles. You get that in college football. And those clashing styles sometimes can bridge that gap of talent between teams. And that's when you see upsets. That's why I love college football. Love it. My favorite sport by far to cover. College basketball second. Snuggle Struggle says, I just can't wait for Texas A&M's annual pig roasting in Dallas. Who's Texas A&M? Is Texas A&M opening the season in Dallas? I haven't looked at their schedule. Who's Texas? Is Texas A&M playing in Dallas, or are they? Because that's where Auburn's playing next season. I am says college football is more predictable. What? No, it's not. Oh, Texas A&M plays Arkansas in Dallas. Is that like a season opener? I think Jimbo's going to turn things around at A&M. Man, they're a sleeping giant. GSM, sorry, asked, does Auburn use Nate Craig Myers and Darius Slayton out wide with Ryan Davis more in the slot this year? I could see that. I would do that. Definitely. I mean, definitely with Slayton. He's a deep threat. They're going to mix them up. Try to confuse defenses. Nathan's asked, maybe this is more of a question for the chat, Nathan, but are you tired of Alabama winning every year? Listen, I've said this before. I think Nick Saban is the best college football coach ever. So, and as he's said before, or has mentioned through some other folks or through other mediums, you know, with college football, you can go into a recruiting class and have, 20 plus first round picks with recruiting, and that's what he's been doing every year. That's why they're so good. Plus, he's a good coach. My surprise, Holland wasn't drafted. A little bit, but I just didn't think he was going to be drafted highly. Where do I have Clemson rated? I don't know yet, but they're going to be in the top 5. Clemson's going to contend again for the national championship, if not win it. There are several teams battling for that number 1 spot on my AP Top 25. Clemson's one of them. Bama. So we'll see. All right, guys. 1 or 2 more questions, and I got to go. I got to go get ready to leave to go record a podcast. Will Texas bounce back to prominence? I don't know. I'm not too familiar with their situation, but Herb Hand's now their offensive line coach, and I don't think they're going to be great on the offensive line with Herb Hand there. Unless talent just overcomes everything. Mr. John D says Texas A&M playing at Auburn scares me as a potential loss. Road team hasn't lost yet. I agree with you there. That's a trap game. I think I've mentioned that before on our website. Big trap game. I have the trip to Mississippi State for Auburn and Auburn hosting Texas A&M as my 2 trap games this year. Best player on the team, I'd say right now, Jarrett Stidham. He'll be a first-round guy if he has a good season. Thanks, Run To It. You too. You have a good one. GSM asked, is it possible one of the guards move inside to center, slide a tackle inside a guard? It's possible. I think they'll move guys around early, sure. Felcher says, thanks for all you do. Now, thank you, guys. Thanks for watching. And thanks for going to auburnundercover.com. As I said, go subscribe. It's pretty cheap. Later this week on, I think, Wednesday, we're going to have a great deal go up for you to sign up for coverage. It's going to be really, really good. So stay tuned for that. Let your friends know. And right now, we're having a scavenger hunt. Go check my Twitter feed. There is a old piece of Auburn Undercover advertisement on a pole somewhere near Jordan-Hare Stadium. If you can go find that advertisement on a pole near Jordan-Hare Stadium and take a selfie with it and tweet it at me, I'll give you 3 free months of VIP subscriber access to Auburn Undercover. That's like $30, 30 plus bucks. So, and all you got to do is go stand next to the thing and take a picture and tweet it. I'll give you 3 free months if you go find it. One person's found it so far, and I'm willing to maybe give out another subscription or 2. So go find it, tweet it at me, make sure you're in the picture, and you can win 3 free months of VIP access. And even if you are a subscriber already to auburnundercover.com, I'll extend your subscription to whatever it is now an additional 3 months for free. So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining me. I got to get going. Got to go record a podcast here pretty quick. Thanks for joining me. As always, football, in a sense, is almost here with practices starting Friday. We'll have plenty of coverage at auburnundercover.com. Today, right now, there's a lot of recruiting coverage on our site that you want to go check out from Keith Neuber. A lot of scoop and a lot of VIP intel you guys have got to go check out. So make sure and go check that out. I'm Brandon Marcello. Follow me on Twitter at @bmarcello. And, of course, go to auburnundercover.com for full coverage.